Government school feeding program, a costly necessity, we bring you a closer look. Dominica hosts a successful mission to Boston, and the Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt welcomes suggestions to introduce Black history as a secondary school subject. Thank you for joining us on another edition of National Focus. I'm Jarna Hector.
And I'm Mervin. Stay with us for details of the headline stories and others coming up right after this.
Dominica is blessed with an abundance of water, but getting it to your home is an expensive venture. You have a responsibility to conserve water, to use it wisely. Remember the old adage, you never miss the water till the well runs dry. Think water, think life.
Thank you for staying with us. Government school feeding program, which costs over $200,000 per annum, is considered a necessity despite the cost. GIS spoke with the program's coordinator, Pamela Geist, who gave an insight into the workings of the school feeding program. According to Geist, the program aims to provide primary school students with nutritious meals daily that would ensure their educational development. Geist highlighted that the program is aimed at all students and is not limited to economic status. Without the program, the coordinator says, some students face difficult circumstances.
What is going to happen is you do not have the feeding program. The children are going to leave school every day, walk home distances. Sometimes they may not necessarily find lunch at home. And if it's a case like that, the children would stay home instead of coming back to school. In that case, their learning is, deficient. They may not necessarily be catching up with all of the classes and the lessons. Sometimes the children come to school without any breakfast. They come to school without any lunch. Some of them who do come with some lunch sometimes is really, you can compare it with almost nothing and that lunch, apart. So the feeding program has met its objectives in terms of making the children, or allowing the children stay in school under supervision, where they have a hot, nutritious meal, and they can continue immediately, in the post-lunch period, the sessions, that they can follow up with the classes again.
In order to ensure the existence and expansion of the school feeding program, several investments are necessary.
For any school feeding program, you have to set up some sort of infrastructure. You have to make sure that you have enough water, you have enough, like the kitchen is, adequate. You have to put in things like refrigerators and cookers and stuff like that, and make sure you have tiled floors and everything, because you have to now work with the environmental health department to make sure that the sanitary conditions are adequate. So all of that had to be put in place.
The guidelines for these meals are based on eating local, healthy and balanced. Variety is also incorporated in the development of the menu. To ensure that these principles are met, a system of monitoring those meals has also been established.
We have a head cook at every school. The principal, as the school manager, is supposed to be supervising that head cook. We do training with the schools. Well, I am responsible for doing training with the cooks. So when we have a feeding program in any school, we recruit the parents who are going to be helping at the school. They are supposed to be food handler certified, and we go through the different menus with them. As a matter of fact, there are some meals that I make sure myself that I say, this is how I would like you to prepare it.
Currently, 30 primary schools are enrolled in government school feeding program, with more being added annually. The coordinator responded to the question of the program's expansion.
The Ministry of Education, and let's just say the government of Dominica, wish is that every school in the island would have a feeding program. However, it costs a lot of money to do so. It costs a lot of money to do so. And right now is a matter of prioritizing where next, because every year we've been putting on schools into the feeding program. Like this year, Grand Fond came in and Trafalgar came in, you know, and then we started recently with Campbell. So every year we've been seeing 1 or 2 schools coming in into the school feeding program. But the wish of the Ministry of Education is that this feeding program would be extended to all of the schools on the island.
While the cost to parents and students remain at $1 per day per child, significantly more is being regularly injected by government.
A lot of money. Think of it as a typical housewife, the amount you would spend on food for your family. Beside the food, which would typically be like over $200,000 a year to feed the children, we also have to look at things like replacing stoves and refrigerators and freezers, because every school has to have a freezer, every school has to have a refrigerator, every school has to have a proper cooking stove, pots and pans and you know, other utensils and so. So all of that has to be in place. Beside, you know, you have to do repairs to the cupboards and to the floors, because you have to meet standards set by the Environmental Health Department. So it costs a lot.
The coordinator called for parents to subsidize the program at their community schools by volunteering to prepare the dishes or by providing food items. Pamela Geist has been involved with the school feeding program for over a decade.
In more news, the Dominica Realistic Education and Arts Movement DREAM Foundation has made a valuable contribution towards the enhancement of the recently formed Old Mill Dance Studio. DREAM Foundation, a registered non-profit organization founded by reigning Miss Dominica Leslasa Amo Shengford, last Friday made a presentation of materials and sound equipment towards the DREAM Dance Studio project.
In recognition of the continued efforts of the Division of Culture and the National Cultural Council towards the development of the arts in Dominica, today the DREAM Foundation is honored to officially present our contribution to the space. Ballet bars, edge-to-edge mirrors, a modern sound system that enables wireless access and playback to all media in all forms from any device, as well as displays of inspiring artwork by our very own Old Mills Senior Cultural Officer, Mr. Earl Aitken, as well as Mr. Petrus Miaza, 2 extremely talented and distinguished artists in Dominica.
Leslasa, a trained dancer and dance instructor, utilized the Old Mill Dance Studio last year for practice sessions in preparation for the Miss Dominica competition. Leslasa's talent during the Miss Dominica pageant and the subsequent pageants portrayed her skills in ballet. Raymond Lawrence, former Chief Cultural Officer, accepted the gifts, which included ballet bars on behalf of the National Cultural Council and the Division of Culture. He said the studio, which was officially commissioned 2 years ago, is still under development.
On behalf of the Cultural Division, the National Cultural Council, the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, we really have to thank you, Leslasa, and the DREAM Foundation for assisting us here at the Old Mill. Of course, the Old Mill is open to all types of donations. The U.S. Embassy helped to put up the museum that we have down at in the other section of the Old Mill. Dr. Clayton Shillingford donated a set of fans to the main building in the other section of the Old Mill. But of course, there's a big plan for the Old Mill, and anybody who feels that they can contribute and assist the development, the further development of the old mill, we are willing to accept, you know, your donations, your assistance. But thank you very much again to the Dream Foundation. Thank you very much, Les Lasser.
Thank you.
The Old Mill Dance Studio replaced a building which housed the manager of the Old Mill estate in the 1700s. The dance studio project was done at a cost of over $300,000, which was made available by the government of Dominica. The building was officially commissioned 2 years ago, together with the formal launch of the Dominica Institute for the Arts.
In more news, Minister for Employment, Trade, Industry and Diaspora Affairs, Honorable Dr. Colin McIntyre, has told the nation that the country is, quote, on the right track. The minister believes that the decisions made by the Roosevelt-Skerrit government has led to that conclusion.
This government, we have put measures in place to stabilize this country. The country is on the right path. The country is the only country in the region that we're not losing jobs. We're actually creating jobs, and it's being created from government. And with our partnership with the private sector and different sectors, government sector as well, public sector, but we're creating jobs. And right in the valley, we have benefited from it.
As compared to larger developed countries and regional ones where thousands have been made redundant, Honorable McIntyre is convinced that based on Dominica's performance, there is much for which to be grateful. As Minister for Diaspora Affairs, Honorable McIntyre feels that government's "a friend to all" foreign policy can also be credited for the relatively stable state of employment in Dominica.
This is a government who is sleeping. We're talking to you, we're understanding what you want, and we're providing it for you. It costs money. Sometimes we can hardly afford it, you know, but we are making sure we go out there. They like to refer to the Prime Minister as a man who goes out there to beg. But let him go there and beg for his people. You see, let him go out there, because at least this country, Dominica, you're not going to hear that we are laying off people. We have gone through that in 2004. You have made this sacrifice. All our public officers, some of our private sector people, they have made these sacrifices to put this country where it is today. We have to hold it. We have to hold it, and we have to keep it there for ourselves.
Honorable McIntyre was speaking at an orientation exercise for the National Employment Program in the Roseau Valley late last week.
For this entire week, the Roseau Public Library will celebrate Black History. At the opening ceremony of Black History Week on Monday, Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt-Skerrit, who declared the Library Week opened, welcomed suggestions to the introduction of Black History as a secondary school subject. The Prime Minister said the initiative should be taken by individual schools to incorporate the subject in the school's activities.
On the issue of teaching of Black history at the schools, the authority is in the hands of the teachers and parents. So they have the authority to introduce Black history into the school system. So it doesn't have to take a directive from myself as the Prime Minister or the Minister for Education to instruct this, because there are a number of things which the schools from time to time do with no authority from myself or the Minister of Education. But it has to be a call and a decision by the school system, and to say that they have my full support to introduce Black history at the secondary school.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister appealed to the students present at that ceremony to take time to read more. The Prime Minister advised the students that the wider knowledge gained from reading will assist them in differentiating between news and gossip and fact and fiction. The Prime Minister said that being well-read will allow one to make meaningful contributions to discussions.
Too many of us do not read in Dominica. So when you listen to the talk shows, for example, every caller calls to react to what the previous caller has said, not to draw to our attention something that he has read and he would like to educate the masses. And likewise, most of the talk show hosts themselves are not well read. And so they introduce a topic not knowing anything about the topic. And the little that they know, they're not in a position to share it with the listenership. So we are going down a very dangerous route, where those who are supposed to educate us through the mass media themselves are not reading. And if you're not reading, how are you going to educate us? How are you going to inform us on new things? And how are you going to guide us on the way forward? So as students, these are the things that you have to look at. How do you differentiate fact from fiction? How do you differentiate news from gossip? You know, and so it is important that the education system pays particular attention to these things and not necessarily be too perturbed about the CXC results and how many ones we can get and how many twos we can get, but ensuring that we produce students who can stand the test of time.
Venezuela's Petrocaribe initiative is said to have significantly contributed to Dominica's development through housing improvement and the construction of filling stations, among other projects. In 2005, the government of Dominica signed an agreement with the government of Venezuela to give effect to the Petrocaribe Agreement, the results of which continue to be felt by nationals across the country. Speaking at a press conference last week, Sales and Marketing Manager of Petrocaribe, Ian Pinard, highlighted Petrocaribe's endorsement of the construction of proper road networks and the liquid petroleum gas agencies.
Everybody knows about Petrocaribe and what we are doing in Dominica. And since 2007, since we opened the doors of Petrocaribe, we have seen the company grow from a small company into a very big and significant company who plays a big part in Dominica's development. We started with diesel, selling diesel in 2007. And now in 2013, we have diesel, gasoline, LPG, and also asphalt. So most of the time you see public works doing the road maintenance is asphalt from Petrocaribe. So we play a significant role in the development of Dominica. And with our LPG, so far we have 61 agents all over Dominica, from Scottsdale to Capuchin and Daly Seas to Penville, which is significant, where we sell the $30 LPG bottle, 20-pound bottle, all over Dominica. So from Roseau, it's $30, all the way in Penville, it's $30. So it's significant. We've just introduced our new product, which is the fiberglass bottle, which is very light, it's non-explosive, and it's very, very safe. So you see these days, ladies, young ladies are walking with our bottles because they feel more comfortable, because it's a lot more attractive than the other bottle.
Petrocaribe has manifested its commitment in a close partnership with Dominica's government through numerous contributions, including the erection of 10 more Petrocasas, this time in the Casa Bruce constituency. From the commencement of government's Housing Revolution program in 2007, the Venezuelan organization has funded several houses for individuals in need. According to Pinard, Petrocaribe has also contributed to the establishment of convenient filling stations in various communities across the island, primarily for the benefit of fisherfolk.
In our gasoline, we have constructed 6 gas stations for our fishermen, because one of the problems we realized for the fishermen was the availability and reliability of gasoline. And what we have done, we have constructed 6 gas stations, 6 out of 10 that we're going to do all over the country. We have put one in Fort St. Jean, Scottsdale, Saint-Sauveur, Portsmouth, Roseau, and Marigot. So these are the role that Petrocaribe is playing into the development of Dominica.
Pinard emphasized that in addition to these significant contributions, Petrocaribe has not neglected the needs of the elderly.
We see where we play a significant role in also the LPG, where we give centenarians, persons under the ESP Care program, and other persons, the less fortunate, a free LPG every month. And so far, we have 200 persons under that program all over Dominica, where they receive a free LPG under our social program. We try our best to ensure that Petrocaribe plays its part, not only as a petroleum company, but also a social partner. And we have been playing our part in contributing significantly with our LPG.
Pinard acknowledged the organization's contribution to education and infrastructure.
We see infrastructure in Dominica, like the Soufriere Scottsdale City Fence Wall, been constructed under the Petrocaribe funds. We see the Tatan City Fence Wall being constructed under the Petrocaribe funds. We see the cleanup in Portsmouth. And most of you have been to Portsmouth before, and you see all the boats on the shoreline since 1979, after Hurricane David. And these things will no longer exist because of Petrocaribe. We went in there and do the funding and remove all the boats on the shore. And if you go down to Portsmouth, you see this lovely beach, and the tongue is now beginning to shine.
Petrocaribe has revealed its commitment to co-sponsor a number of carnival events, including the National Queen Show, the Teenage Pageant, the Mother's Queen Show, and the DSC's Mass Jamboree Pageant.
The Discover Dominica Authority has successfully hosted a mission to Boston. According to a press release from the DDA, Dominica participated in a recently held diaspora engagement event as well as the Boston Globe Travel Show in Boston from February 7 to 9. The DDA reported that these initiatives, which form part of its marketing plans for Dominica, also fostered greater collaboration with the Dominican community residing in Boston. Through the Diaspora Engagement event, the DDA, along with approximately 25 members of the Dominican Diaspora in Boston, members from the Dominica Boston Cultural Performers, Dominica Independence Association, and the Dominica Heritage Society, were able to meet to discuss opportunities for their members and the authority to partner on future activities and initiatives. The DDA believes that this will assist in positioning Dominica's tourism products and services more effectively while ensuring that one consistent message is provided. The DDA ensures it continues to maximize all the resources at its disposal towards developing the tourism sector to ensure effective collaboration as the industry strives to attain the goal of 7% growth in order to attract 90,000 stayover visitors to Dominica by 2015. DDA will meet next with the Caribbean Tourism Organization in New York and the Know Your Culture Organization in New Jersey. The Discover Dominica Authority also intends to participate in the Toronto Outdoor and Adventure Show. And that's it for the English segment of the news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Creole highlights.
Hello tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Non, moi, c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, Premier ministre Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, qui a condamné bien fort parole négative même opposition Thompson Fontaine, qui a concerné la situation Dominique et puis Caribbean Court of Justice. Fontaine fait parole et puis coopération CMC en Barbade, qui Dominique pas parlé pour participer à Caribbean Court of Justice. Quand même, Premier ministre Skerritt a gardé parole Fontaine comme parole imbécile, parce que le Premier ministre Skerritt savent bien clair qu'il n'y a ni officier qui s'a conduit CCJ. Premier ministre a mentionné mon conducteur Liverpool et puis Justice Georges, Dominicien qui a commandé autant respect qu'on Justice Caraïbe. Honorable Skerritt dit les affaires CCJ déjà discutées en temps qui passé et puis UWP supporté. Premier ministre a dit que c'est la meilleure manière pour taper justice pour Dominicien ensemble et puis d'autres bénéfices l'audience là qu'a offert aux citoyens. Ça fait Caribbean Court of Justice qui est discuté pendant le Parlement qui joint un accord. En la nouvelle division sport qui a conduit divers programmes sport en l'école tout mon pays là. Parole celle-là sur le coordinateur sport Trevor Shillingford.
Nous avons essayé de développer sport à plus à l'école primaire avec nous plusieurs officiers ça nous qui est youth sports officer qui travaille avec ces jeunes mamans là en l'école primaire. Ces officiers ça là qui fait ça nous qui est physical education PE avec ces mamans là pour essayer faire fondation pour nous développer sport. Après ça, nous avons fait plusieurs activités à ces secondary school. Nous avons plusieurs sporting disciplines, ça nous avons fait en secondary school. Après ça, nous avons allé sport table tennis qui a pris place après ça. Nous aussi avons sport ball, cricket, pour ces plus gros étudiants là, à l'école secondaire. Nous avons aussi sport volleyball qui a pris place à présent pour l'école secondaire. Avec sport netball pour ces plus jeunes petits filles là à l'école secondaire. Nous allons commencer tout de suite sport basketball pour ces plus grands étudiants à l'école secondaire.
L'Office des As Dominique et puis pour diverses organisations qui a conduit le programme où là il y a traîné les gens qui a dans un comité pour faire épisode des as si en tous les cas. Trainement ça là qui prend place à présent et puis comité des as en Casse-Brousse. Député officier pompier Anthony Williams qui a conduit traitement ça là.
Nous avons préparé mon communauté pour dire ça pour faire avant pompiers, police, Red Cross, service moun ça qui c'est professionnel là oui les bagages la fête parce que chaque fois l'habitant a fait nous chemin d'être bloqué nous pas que ça passer bois tomber affalement fait et ben nous pas ça passer so en tout cas nous pas ça passer nous ni moun en ces communauté qui ça fait quelque chose avant nous arriver so nous ca prendre temps nous ca servir l'esprit nous ca passer information ba moun pour yo savent ça pour faire en tout cas quelque chose fait pas d'autant yo ca espérer nous vivre.
Finalement, ministre pour employement et puis membre parlement Rose Valley, honorable Dr. John Colin McIntyre, qui a fait parole développement qui a pris place en Valley là à présent. Honorable McIntyre a fait parole celle-là pendant meeting qui cabinet de chain et puis résidence semaine passée. Si l'homme membre parlement McIntyre, gouvernement a fait plongement pour d'autres jeunes Valley là bénéficier en bas programme employement gouvernement. Il a aussi parlé contre les affaires d'éducation tout le pays là qui a bénéficié jeunesse tout le pays là. Parce que c'est ça qui a poussé aux nations devant. Honorable McIntyre a aussi mentionné le développement géothermique qui a pris place à présent en Rose Valley. Mais c'est mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelles en créole pour à présent. Au moins, c'est McPherson. Au revoir.
Coming up next, how to undo bad eating choices.
Together we build, together we strive. We see it all on your Government Information Service, Channel 7. This is the Government Information Service, bringing you all that you need to know about all that's happening in your country's development. GIS, you and your channel.
When we cheat on our diets, we often fall prey to discouragement and subsequently cancel the diet altogether. But that's not absolutely necessary.
One bad day or bad meal does not make you a failure. Simply do better tomorrow or with the next meal. Use the next opportunity to undo the bad previous decisions. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm.
Friend us on our Facebook page and be sure to like our GIS Dominica fan page. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire news production team, I'm Mervin Matthew.
And I'm Jarna Hector. Thank you for watching.